Hi, and welcome back. I'm John Dawson. If you had asked me 10 years ago how I define success, I would have answered without hesitation. Title, salary, scope, recognition, momentum. That was the scorecard. Title mattered more than I cared to admit at the time. It wasn't just something you could casually mention at a dinner party. It represented forward motion. It meant you were climbing. It meant you had authority, influence, power. It meant you had earned something. Every promotion felt like a checkpoint and a long climb. Contributor, senior contributor, manager, director, senior director. The words meant something. They were visible proof that you were moving up. Salary was closely tied to that. At some point, you earn more than you practically need. The bills are covered. The lifestyle is covered. And yet, the number still matters. It becomes symbolic, competitive, personal. The salary wasn't just income. It was validation. And then bonuses were validation stacked on validation. Recognition was another metric. When you are fused to your work, when your days are long and intense and you're carrying real responsibility, you want someone to notice. You want someone to say, that mattered. Recognition was the relief valve. And then there was the busyness. This one's subtle. I kept an internal tally of how many plates I had spinning at any given moment. How many projects? How many teams, how many initiatives. If I ever felt like there were too few things in motion, I felt uneasy, like I was slipping. Overwhelm felt like progress. If I was slightly drowning, that meant I was succeeding. That was the scorecard. And then I retired. And the scoreboard disappeared overnight. No more title, no more paycheck, no more performance cycle, no more formal recognition, no more calendar packed with standing meetings. You have your final one-on-one, you get the thank you, and then they lock down your laptop. And then it's quiet. So quiet, you can almost hear it. The calendar goes blank. It's like living your entire life with GPS navigation telling you exactly where to turn, and then one day, it shuts off. You're still in motion, but there's no voice telling you where to go. I felt unmoored. Not financially, psychologically. The external metrics were gone, and I had not yet built internal ones. So, what does success feel like now? Not theoretically, practically. Well, it feels like waking up on a Tuesday with no alarm, just letting my body decide when the day begins. It feels like long walks with my wife in the middle of the day, not squeezed in before work or not rushed after dinner, walking just because we can. It feels like booking a trip without putting in a PTO request. It feels like saying yes to visiting family, not because it fits the calendar, but because it fits the heart. It feels like spending an hour on the phone with one of my kids without watching the clock. It feels like playing disc golf on a Wednesday morning and not feeling like I'm stealing time. It feels like sitting in an airport lounge with nowhere urgent to be. It feels like liminal spaces, the in-between moments where traveling where nothing is required of you. It feels like overlanding to a national park and hiking into the backcountry just because you want to. It feels like watching a movie in the middle of the afternoon. It feels like visiting my parents on a weekday instead of waiting for a holiday. It feels like having margin. Margin is underrated. Margin means you are not constantly at capacity. Margin means you can absorb life. The new scoreboard is measured in presence, in availability, in flexibility, and how often I get to say yes to what matters. If I had to choose one internal metric now, it would be curiosity. Curiosity is the thread that runs through my entire life. As a child, I was endlessly curious. I could stay lost in wonder for hours. Everything felt new, fresh, captivating. But somewhere during my adult years, especially during my career, that curiosity narrowed. It didn't disappear, but it became channeled, focused, directed towards outcomes, deadlines, deliverables. Now, in retirement, I feel like I'm returning to something I had at the beginning. Childlike curiosity. The ability to wander, to explore ideas without monetizing them, to read something just because it's interesting, to hike without tracking performance, to ask questions without needing an answer that fits into a quarterly objective. Retirement feels like a bookend. Life began in curiosity. It may very well end there. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me." I've thought about that differently lately. Maybe becoming childlike again is not regression. Maybe it's the point. To return to wonder, to presence, to aliveness. To experience the world not as a series of transitions, but as a gift. Curiosity is now my metric. Am I still curious? Am I still open? Am I still learning? If the answer is yes, I'm succeeding. You know, if the 40-year-old version of me could see me now, I think he would feel relief. Not jealousy, but relief. Relief that the treadmill eventually stops. Relief that the parenthesis called career doesn't define the entire sentence of your life. Relief that there's a way out of this constant urgency. Relief that the drive to achieve can soften without disappearing. He would see someone calmer, less frantic, less reactive, more anchored and more playful. He would see someone who still cares deeply, but doesn't measure his worth by output anymore. He would see someone who has reclaimed something that was always there. And maybe he would whisper, "Hold on, you're going to make it." Success used to be vertical, upward, higher title, higher pay, more scope. Now, success feels horizontal. It's wider, it's deeper, it's richer in experience. It's not about climbing anymore, it's about inhabiting. Retirement didn't make me less ambitious, it changed what I'm ambitious about. I'm ambitious about presence, about wonder, about peace, about finishing this life with as few regrets as possible. That's the new scorecard. And for me, it's a better one. If you're somewhere in the middle of your climb, maybe you're still measuring success the old way. And that's not wrong. It served me well for a long time. But just know, there is another definition waiting on the other side. And it might surprise you. Thank you for being here. It's been a joy to walk with you on this journey. And if you've been enjoying these episodes, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. As always, thank you for tuning in to John Dawson Retirement.